Bitcoin holders on the edge of their seats as they watch the Bitcoin charts, wondering if Bitcoin is going to bounce out of the mess that it found itself in the first place. In this video, I'm going to break down the short-term charts, something I spotted in the long-term charts that might hint at a bullish breakout. What is up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Hit the subscribe and like on the way in. Let's jump into the Bitcoin video. So this is a risky video because Bitcoin is truly at the edge of a cliff. And by the time I upload this very video, this could just be completely shattered. Bitcoin could be falling into the 40,000s. And we are right there on the short-term charts. But I want to just show you something I just spotted. Want to throw it out there as we watch these charts and we see what Bitcoin's about to do. And I want to start here. A couple of really important points on the macro. Number one, as you know, we've entered the bull market doors. This was in November. This green Fibonacci, that's the bull market high of 2017 to bear market low, back up through this area, the bull market doors in November. That's something important that we're going to discuss. So let's get that out of the way. And then the second thing, just to note and throw out there, is we do have a target in the lower 40,000s down in this area. So if what I'm about to talk about fails, this is the likely next target, a very similar move to what happened a couple of times in the last bull market. So let's dig in. Let's talk about what I spotted on the charts, because this could be the potential setup for Bitcoin right now. And let's take a look at it. So here's Bitcoin zoomed out on the 6 hour. So what we've been tracking right now is a rising wedge. Let's call it a rising wedge. Bitcoin broke out of the lower trend line and zoomed out. There's a couple similar things happening. We had a very similar type of setup, a little bit larger, and this was all the way back in May to, October. So this is a larger pattern, but the same type of deal was happening as we approached the apex of the rising wedge. Bitcoin broke through the lower trend line back here, similar to how we just broke through the lower trend line. I'm going to dig in and show you this. Now, the same thing that was happening back then is Bitcoin breaking through key moving averages. And I want to talk about that. So let's go over here on the 6 hour chart, zoomed in, and let's change it to a daily. And let's zoom in on the daily here. And this is Bitcoin making the move. So here's what the rising wedge looks like. Bitcoin breaking the lower trend line, at the same time breaking the 50-day moving average. So I want to go on the same chart now, same type of rising wedge, and zoom in on the daily. And you can see Bitcoin breaking the lower trend line, also breaking the 50-day moving average, that blue line. So a couple similarities happening right now in terms of these patterns. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because in last night's video, I discussed the potential, and let me actually go back to this chart. I discussed the potential for Bitcoin getting this breakout of the lower trend line. So far we've broken out around, let's see, from the lower trend line, 12%. We had a nice wick, so we're currently around 5 to 6% below the lower trend line. And I talked about the potential for Bitcoin to kind of turn this into a busted wedge, right? Meaning we get a fake breakout to the downside and we're back up in the apex of this pattern. Now, a very similar thing happened then. Bitcoin made a break through the lower trend line, didn't fall even 10%, which is important, meaning we didn't close any candles below 10%, and we started putting in higher highs and higher lows on the short-term charts from this initial swing low. So to round it all up, Bitcoin broke the 50-day moving average, broke the lower trend line, did not close a candle below 10%, and started putting in higher highs and higher lows for continuation back into the pattern. This is the move we're looking for right now. We've broken the lower trend line. We've broken the 50-day moving average. We've not closed a candle below 10%, which would be down here at around 52,800. We've not closed a candle down there. And right now, Bitcoin just hovering. And, none of us know. Nobody knows what the next move is going to be. There could very well be continuation to the downside after this little consolidation here, right under the 50-day moving average. If you go back to this pattern here, a similar setup happened back then. You can see it took Bitcoin a little bit of time, and this is a daily chart. Took a little bit of time for Bitcoin to get its bearings on the daily chart after that initial drop, trading sideways, getting a nice pop to the upside. Something to note is the fact that Bitcoin at that time, cooling down here on the RSI on the daily chart. Similarly, if we look at Bitcoin now, Bitcoin has been cooling down here on the RSI, the slower moving momentum oscillator. And we can go to this chart and we can kind of get a long-term picture of Bitcoin on that oscillator. So if we look at Bitcoin here, Bitcoin at this very area it's bouncing, throughout this bull market has we've retraced to this area on the RSI multiple times. And you can see Bitcoin getting the bounce after kind of consolidating down to this RSI area. So right now, even you can see Bitcoin a little bit of an uptrend, but there's just, it's almost meaningless to take that as bullish. It's the first step, obviously, to a turnaround in Bitcoin. The stock RSI, we noted, I think, in last night's video, it's in the oversold area. So there's a strong case that the Bitcoin bulls could step in and we can start getting some upside. But right now is the time Bitcoin needs to start making some moves. So if we zoom in now on this move, you can see what's transpiring. Let's go to the 6 hour and really kind of just show you what this looks like. Bitcoin putting in just these sideways consolidation, higher lows from this previous swing low. So we're looking at swing low to swing high, bouncing off that support Fibonacci that we've been talking about. We wicked into it. We bounced off of it. So this is like the make or break right now. Bitcoin needs to kind of start getting some separation from this area, start putting in even more higher highs and higher lows at this very point. We could definitely come down and test it again, but we want to start seeing Bitcoin kind of move to the upside and ultimately, at the end of the day, break back above this 50-day moving average right around 56,300. So that's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin right now. It's all kind of, set up for Bitcoin to really turn around. I mean, if you look at the Bitcoin daily chart, Bitcoin 1, 2, 3, 4 pretty large red days in a row for an ultimate drop in the last week or so from swing high to swing low. We're talking about a 20% dip for Bitcoin in this move that we're in right now. Important to remember, just in March, we had an ultimate dip of around 18%. And then back in February, we had an ultimate dip of around 26%, 25%. And you can kind of keep doing this. Bitcoin in this bull market, here's an ultimate dip in January of around 31%. So Bitcoin has been dipping over and over and pretty much once a month for recent months. So this 20% dip could end up being just another higher low for Bitcoin, swing low, higher low. But at the end of the day, we have to track it on the short term. We have to track it right now. Will this support hold? And we have to always zoom out and bring it all back together and say, all right, if support doesn't hold, there is the target to the downside. That 20-week moving average would make a lot of sense in comparison to recent bull market, to that recent bull market. And if we're looking at the pattern itself, and we're zoomed out here, and this rising wedge is here, the pattern target would be in the lower 40,000s down here. So let's see if Bitcoin can get this bounce similar to the move that we got back here in September, October area. There's a lot of similarities. This is kind of what I'm watching right now. I want to see what markets do. But at the end of the day, everybody, be prepared for everything because anything can happen. So expect nothing, anticipate everything. I really, truly appreciate you cruising by today. Let's see how this plays out. Hit the subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Hit that like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.